Up next, I want to talk about the Knicks because it's funny. I sometimes like you post something on social media and you think it's just a fairly dry, boring comment. I posted trading KAT should be the number one priority for the Knicks. And people lost their minds. 1.3K replies, 1.7K quotes, 14K likes, 700 bookmarks. And I got one very, very annoyed person in KAT's orbit sending me a very, annoyed text as well. But you know what? I stand by it. Should the Knicks explore Karl-Anthony Towns? And to discuss that from Knicks Fan TV, here's CP the Fanchise. All right, CP, season did not end the way you would have hoped for with the New York Knicks. And as soon as the season ended, story dropped at The Athletic, James Edwards and Fred Katz with some stuff in there about how the Knicks don't love KAT. Jalen Brunson, Mikal Bridges, some of the Nova guys don't really love KAT's approach on defense. What was your initial reaction to this? Is it surprising at all? Because for me, I feel like this stuff's been floating out there for a little while now.
Not surprising in the least. I mean, you can watch it and see in terms of in certain games, their discussion and some of the frustration you saw on the bench. OG Anunoby and Karl-Anthony Towns getting into it during the playoffs where Jalen Brunson had to intervene. How about the game against Golden State where, several times Karl-Anthony Towns is in a drop trying to defend Stephen Curry. And you can see the bench, people called into the show saying that, listen, the bench is imploring him, get up on the level, move up on the level, and he's dropping back against Stephen Curry, a guy that he's had numerous years of experience playing against. And so the Karl-Anthony Towns experience on the defensive side left a lot to be desired for the Knicks. I'm sure there was cause for a lot of frustration. So, the story's not really surprising to me, but what is surprising is that for the entire year, this team just could not get on the same page defensively, and they suffered because of it.
Now, I think, KAT obviously is not the only guy to blame here. The Hart had a tough series. He blamed himself post-game after game 6. At times, he's an offensive liability. Bridges, they gave up 6 firsts for him, and he's obviously still critical to their defense, but he's nowhere close to the shooter that they thought they were getting. Brunson still dribbles the air out of the ball. It works, but defensively, total liability. That's an issue here, and I think it's the key issue. This is why I posted after the game, trading KAT should be the number one priority for the Knicks because of the fit with Brunson. Brunson, KAT's a flawed duo, CP. They're never going to win a title together because of the way they are just a mismatch on defense. Brunson got attacked relentlessly. There's no hiding him on even Nesmith because Indiana, too much guard and wing screening. They're bringing everybody into ball screens with Halliburton. There's no hiding Brunson. And so anytime he's off the floor, you saw how they're better. Switching 1 through 4, Deuce McBride and other guys on that team better at screen navigation, better at switching and holding up. But the issue is that even with that, like you still need your offensive engine in Brunson. Towns couldn't contain Siakam when he had to play the 4 when he defended him. Siakam shred him apart, too fast for him. KAT's always been aloof. You mentioned his drop defense at times. Jason Timpf over at Hoops Tonight had great analysis over on his channel talking about some of the poor decisions by KAT in transition. He said he rewatched every Indiana transition 2-point basket, and nearly all of them were caused by, he wrote, poor floor balance. And the primary culprit, he wrote, Karl-Anthony Towns, who would repeatedly crash or cut from the top of the key when he was specifically responsible for getting back. And so KAT's not entirely to blame, but the reason why I think that the Knicks should think about trading him here, CP, is because they're not going to move Brunson. They have to make some changes. And Karl-Anthony Towns, in theory, could be the guy that nets you the greatest return. Am I crazy here for even thinking about something like this? Should the Knicks be all in, going on run it back? Or am I onto something here with thinking about trading KAT?
Yeah, well, Knicks Nation really crashed out on you after that, man. I saw that. I said, oh, man, KOC's catching tomatoes here, man.
I was like, I was shocked. I thought it was just going to be a boring little post, just a little thought on my mind. And then boom, it's like, I'm going to kill you.
That was blood in the water for a fan base
Oh my
that
God,
had
I'm
just
coming
lost.
after
And
you.
the team has just lost in 6. But no, look, you bring up an interesting point. I don't think it is valid, but it has to be for the right person. Now, if Giannis and Worldwide West and Leon Rose can pull off the greatest coup in the NBA history, where you can trade a Karl-Anthony Towns for a Giannis without giving up much of your depth, then you have to look at it, because I've said it all year that the Knicks cannot win a ring with playing Karl-Anthony Towns defensively at the 5. It just does not work. And then on top of that, when you have Jalen Brunson and Karl-Anthony Towns in your starting 5 defensively, I think that's too much liability or too much weaknesses there in your defense to cover up for, especially when you go up against a team like in Indiana. And so that forced Tom Thibodeau to make the lineup change in Game 3, go with Mitchell Robinson. The 2 big lineups had a varying success, but against a team like the Indiana Pacers, who uses their speed and athleticism, I thought Carlisle was able to counter, making it kind of almost neutralizing those 2 guys at certain points. But we also saw where when you staggered the Brunson and Towns lineups, both guys had much more success with each other on the bench, both offensively and defensively. So that's going to be a big question for Leon Rose going forward, is how do you maximize this 5, especially on the defensive end, to really play at a championship caliber where you're not getting exposed? And then also offensively, are we maximizing Karl-Anthony Towns and the talent that we have here? That's going to be the $1 million question here. Is Tibbs going to be the guy to do it? Can they bring in an offensive coordinator? But just running it back with this same 5, I don't see much success there for the Knicks.
I mean, first of all, I'd be floored, CP, if the Knicks got Giannis. I just don't see how they could come up with the best offer.
I don't see it.
No. The guy that's on my mind, Kevin Durant. Flip KAT to the Suns for Kevin Durant. Phoenix, Devin Booker and KAT have known each other since they were in college together in Kentucky. They have a great friendship still to this day. Phoenix could have appeal in KAT with Booker. And for the Knicks, Kevin Durant, way older, but better than Karl-Anthony Towns. And then you flip Josh Hart and get a big. Mitch, another big. You have your multiple guys play with a big man rotation, but KD is an upgrade over KAT. I know he's older. You cringed when I said it, so you wouldn't be before that.
The politics with KD, it's tough. It's tough, man. He's older. He's more injury prone now, right? He's a guy who is going to come up with a hamstring or a calf injury or some sort of lower extremity injury through the course of the year. The Knicks with Karl-Anthony Towns, he had a relatively healthy year despite the right knee tendinopathy. He had the bruised left knee in the Pacers series. He had a couple of a bone chip in his thumb and almost a broken finger on his non-shooting hand. He was able to get through relatively okay and still contributed on the offensive end. With the KD experiment, you're really shortening this window here. And yes, he is a more reliable shot creator, but I just, for some reason, I just see bad vibes with the Kevin Durant move for Karl-Anthony Towns. While I agree with you.
Here's the thing, though, CP.
Yeah.
One thing you said, you mentioned shortening the window. You got to go for it. Like, the window is open right now, man. Celtics, Tatum out for possibly all of next season, or at least, not quite the same all of next season if he does return. Bucks possibly trading Giannis. The window's open, dude. Like, you guys did go to a game 6 with the Pacers. You were there, despite some of the flaws we're talking about that likely would have, led to a finals loss for sure against Oklahoma City. But, like, the window's open. Maybe shortening the window is the point here. KAT's going to be 30. It's not like he's young. Big men, who knows how a big man's going to age when they turn 30. Maybe he lasts until he's 38 years old and has a long, fruitful career. But 30 years old as a 7-footer, you don't know. I think maybe shortening the window's the move here. Got to go for a title. Like, what else are you playing for? Just trying to hang. Oh, we went further than we have in decades. Banners like that. That doesn't matter.
No, listen, I think you're right. And it's, to me, it's even head scratching that Phoenix is considering keeping Devin Booker when I think they should be all out resetting and tanking. Send him to Houston, try to get your picks back. But the fact that they are considering extending him, making him the highest paid player in the league and keeping him Are they looking towards being more competitive, where a KD for Towns swap would be enticing to them? It will be interesting to see whether Leon Rose and Worldwide West, who have that relationship with Karl-Anthony Towns, Carl Sr., the CAA connection, would they throw that away for bringing in a mercenary like a Kevin Durant? I think that would be interesting. Look, there's no question that KD can help. I just see bad vibes with that type of move, man. He had his opportunity to come here. He passed on it, and I don't know.
It was too early before. I mean, it was too early for him to go to New York before. It just was.
Yeah.
Like the Nets, it was the wrong choice, but the Nets were better set up to, in theory, win right away. I understand the decision, but ultimately, yes, he did. He should have chosen the Knicks. I just think it was too early. To me, it feels like now is the right time. Now is the right moment where you can be the piece that puts you over the top, and he can't be the only move. It can't just be KAT for Kevin Durant. You still need another big man. Obviously, you can't just have Mitchell Robinson all year long. You still need to limit his minutes. But if you can flip Hart, for a big, or somebody else for a big, and KAT for KD, and maybe because of the age difference, maybe the Suns would give something back in addition to Kevin Durant in that scenario. I don't think you can rule that out. Only 1 year left on KD's deal. Not a lot of suitors as of now. We'll see if that changes. I think the Knicks, they're close, but Brunson, KAT, one of the reasons why I lean towards KAT, and I know you're right, like you bring up the CAA aspect, and that's a big part of it, CP. Like the CAA basically, Leon Rose was part of CAA at one point. They still have a relationship. They have a lot of CAA players, but they're not going to trade Brunson. No. Brunson, his dad is the coach on the team. He's part of the fabric of that offense. I just don't think they're going to trade Brunson. To me, KAT, it could be mutually beneficial. Send him to Phoenix. Play with Book. They love each other. Like maybe it could be mutually beneficial in that scenario, which is one reason why I like that angle. And there's not a lot of other situations I would say make a lot of sense. So even though I say I'd explore trading KAT, that's the only one that really comes right to mind is like, ooh, I would do this. Other than that, it's a lot of, I don't know if this is worth it types of scenarios. But ultimately, you said yourself, this team's not going to win the finals with KAT and Brunson. So you have to do something. Yeah. You have to do something, especially with the East as open as it is right now.
Yes, certainly not with him at the 5. And as you mentioned, a lot of the trades or potential trades are tricky because this is a team that's already lacking depth. And so if you're coming up against a scenario where you have to aggregate contracts just to get a little bit better, then how much better can you potentially get without the draft picks, without the draft capital, and an already questionable bench? I know people want to say, yes, the bench was there for Indiana. Tibbs just had to play them. But let's be honest. They needed another shot creator. They needed another ball handler off of that bench. They got outscored by Indiana's bench by almost 100 points. And so there is need for a talent upgrade. Will the Knicks' young players emerge in year 2? In particular, Pacome Dadier, who they spent their last first-round pick on. He has to bring it together starting year 2, or else this could be headed to bust city. He's got to take a next step. Are they going to go to Tyler Kolek at the backup point guard? Ariel Hukporti showed some things as a potential backup center, but they've really got to hit on these picks and maybe even get lucky in this year's draft, maybe trading up and finding a junior or senior who's ready to contribute. The Hart thing is very interesting, man, because I thought he had a really, really disappointing series. He's looking like a guy whose game is not going to age very well. The 3-point shot was not there, and then you saw indecisiveness in his transition game, which is his A game. And so coupled with his inabilities defensively, Josh Hart really hurt the Knicks in this series. It's going to be interesting to see what they do with him going forward. Will they break up the roommates is another question that Leon Rose is going to have to address. It's going to be interesting, man.